It's not the movies, it's not the military, and it's not magic. Today, I want to give you a tiny glimpse into what those three tell us about survival, going nomad, life on the road, and the reality behind it, because it's not what you think. My name is Jill. This is Jill's Nomad Survival. See you on the other side. So I'm having one of those days. It's our first, it's not technically winter because it's only September, but it's cold, it's windy, it's gray, it's muddy. It's just one of those days. When you live in a tiny trailer, it's a little hard to do. I have no idea how the van and car people do it. My hat's off to you, because I get claustrophobic in this tiny space. But when I was out trudging through the mud and the rain this morning, fetching my water, taking the dog for a walk, which is why I'm filming in here, because even the horse trailer is drowning in water, is I was thinking about how so much of what we see and hear and believe about whether you're living a nomadic life, whether you're in hardcore survival mode, whether the apocalypse has happened, the movies really make it seem like it's something that's dramatic and chaotic and, oh my gosh, can you survive? And there's a lot of fear around it. And what I was really thinking about as I was listening to some other prepper people kind of talk is that the crisis is really easy to get through in hindsight because you don't have time to think. You're in the moment, you're just reacting. It's after the real crisis that the hard part is. And for anybody who's actually launched into this lifestyle or has had a pretty crisis or traumatic event knows that, like with the hurricanes or tornadoes or fires, is the hard part isn't the event. The hard part is after, because that's when, you've calmed down and you're left with, what do I do now? And the same thing is true, with the military, is that you train for the crisis, you train for the hot spot, you train and train and train, and afterwards is the hard part, the sitting around and the waiting. But this is what's different between movies and the military, and I'll probably make some people mad, but in real life, there's nobody to call. There's no one that comes and cleans up. There's no special effects that make it all okay. There's no time lapse in which everything just magically comes back together quickly. And there's nobody else paying for it. That's my personal thing with the military is, yes, you learn a lot of skills, but it's still like living with your parents in many ways, because you're not buying the stuff, you're not responsible for the stuff, and there's always backup to call and help you out. And in these real life environments, what you learn is there's nobody that you can call most of the time. And the hardest part is like now, you're kind of waiting it out. Can't really go outside, can't get much done. And I have to add as a caveat, a lot of times things don't go right. I'm on about my 7th thing today so far that has blown up in my face. A lot of the work I've done hasn't worked out. And so we're really always focused on what we can do to survive the crisis. But here's the real truth. The bottom line is that the crisis is the easy part. It's afterwards that's hard, and this is where the real survival road lifestyle mentality kicks in. And that is patience, vigilance, discipline, and patience, because you kind of have to wait that out. When I was backpacking through Europe when I was a lot younger, sometimes it was 24 hours of travel just sitting around waiting to catch connections to get to the next spot. You're just waiting. Patience is a really important skill, as is vigilance and discipline, and that's not something that anybody really much talks about. We're all focused on the guns and the food and all this other stuff, but I've got like 4 days of rain. I have all my leaks have sprung and were not sealed up when I did all that work, so I am now faced with a lot of uncertainty about how to fix that. But in the meantime, everything's getting wetter and wetter and wetter and muddier and muddier and muddier. And Freedom here is miserable because he can't do much outside. So it's hard. This is the hard part. It's not like in the movies. It's not even really like in the military, because there's nobody to call. Nobody's going to rescue you. There's no special effects. Day in, day out. That's why people went insane when they lived out by the prairies or by themselves, because there wasn't even TV or internet. So I am a big fan of, yes, it's good to plan and prepare, but the reality is that behind all of the planning and the preparing is mostly up here, and how you can get yourself through mentally, because as you will find if you haven't had these experiences yet. The hard part is a lot of times stuff just doesn't work out. It doesn't change very fast. Bad things happen. You just have to deal with it. And I know you can. I'm just putting it out there because I get frustrated when I listen to other people talk about this stuff sometimes. Whereas if you just go do something, everything will be okay. Sometimes what you do doesn't work out. More often, there's nothing you can do but wait it out. And that's the real skill when you're really talking about survival. Whether it's by choice, life on the road, or not by choice, the end of the world happens. So I just wanted to throw that out there because there's not much I can do in terms of filming, but I did have a message for you today. So always believe in planning and preparing. You can find that in the 3 books that I've written over at jillelizabeth.net. But for today, we're waiting it out, and hopefully it will dry out and I can figure out how to frickin' plug up my wet spots. But that's it. My name is Jill, jillelizabeth.net. See you next time.